Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am not going to be long. I didn't even know I was going to come on. I have on my because I don't want nobody who seen me yesterday to think I don't wash and stuff. So I have on my Zoom sweater for today. I wore this Zoom sweater yesterday, so some people saw me yesterday. I have a Zoom sweater. So every week or every few days, I change my Zoom sweater because when I'm off Zoom, then I take it off. So this is my Zoom sweater for the next few days. So I don't want nobody to think I got on the same clothes. But anyway, I wanted to come on real quick because this thing is burning in my soul. So I pray you all are having an awesome day. So I just want to tell you, the Lord this morning, as I was leaving, dropping off my kids from school. If you're coming in, you could just let me know you're here. I was dropping off the boys at school this morning, and on my way home, well, on my way to Duncan, because if you know me, you know I went to Duncan first. On my way to Duncan, the Lord led me to the book of Daniel. And he started me at the first verse. And I read chapters, he started me at chapter 1. I read chapters 1 through 4. And everybody knows the story of Daniel. He interpreted the dream of the king. The king, he got favor with the king, and the king made him over the wise men, yada, yada, yada. We know the story. So I said to God, which I know God, of course, anytime you read his word, he gives you new revelation. When you're here, just let me know you're here. But every time you read his word, he gives you new revelation. So I said, God, well, why are you sending me to such a familiar passage of scripture? So I read chapters 1 through 4. And what stuck out to me and what the Lord had dealt with me about, and I'm just saying this now because it keeps burning and it keeps coming up today. And literally, I just read this morning around 8 o'clock or so. In chapter 1 and 2, if you notice, of course, the king had said to put all of the men to death because no one could tell him his dream and no one could interpret his dream. So no one could tell him and no one could interpret the dream. Bless you, Owens. So Daniel, if you know the sequence of the story, Daniel, not before he heard this story, he didn't know anything. Daniel then went to God and asked God to not only tell him Nebuchadnezzar's dream, but to then give him the interpretation of the dream. This is what Daniel did. Then he got those who were on one accord with him to also pray to God, and so that God could give Daniel again the actual dream and the interpretation of the dream. So when Daniel, of course, the Lord gave that to him because Daniel went and asked, and the Lord gave that to him. And then Daniel was able to then go to the king and tell the king what no one else could tell him, which was his dream and the interpretation of his dream. But if you notice in the scripture, before Daniel even gets to all of that, Daniel says to him, Daniel points Nebuchadnezzar to God and says, I asked God to give me this. And then this is what God gave me for you. I just want to tell you on today because I've read that so many times, read it so many times, and it may not mean nothing to nobody, but it meant a lot to me because it spoke to me this morning. What Daniel did that a lot of us need to do right now is instead of waiting for some divine revelation or waiting for God to drop something in our lap, Daniel went straight to God and said, give me what I need to get me to my next. Daniel didn't say, I'm just sitting here waiting for God to bless me and enlarge my territory and give me what I need. Daniel said, oh, this is a way in. So, God, give me not only the dream that you gave the king, give me the interpretation, because once you give it to me, I know what to do with it. The problem with a lot of us, and I say us because I've missed some major opportunities, is we are sitting around waiting for God to drop something in our lap instead of asking God for exactly what we want. Once Daniel asked God specifically, give me the dream and give me the interpretation, once God gave it to him, he didn't sit there and wait. He didn't sit there and say, okay, God, so now what do you want me to do with it? Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? No. Daniel then got up and requested to see the king. He didn't wait for the king to request him. He didn't wait for the Lord to speak to the king Nebuchadnezzar to then all of a sudden say, I'm requesting Daniel. He said, no, I need to see the king. He requested to see the king because I got something that he needs. How many of us are going to get to a point where we're bold enough that we know what God has told us to do, we know what he has charged us to do, and we just go and do it? That we knock on the doors that we're supposed to knock on, not waiting for somebody to put it in our lap, not waiting for a hookup, but actually knock on the door and say, hey, excuse me, I need to see you, sir. Excuse me, I need to see you, ma'am. I got something that you need. And then what I love about all of it is he didn't even make it about him. He didn't say, oh, I got the dream, I got the revelation. He then said, my God, who I serve, who is in heaven, I asked him and he gave it to me. So that's another thing too. He didn't take credit. He didn't take credit. He pointed Nebuchadnezzar back to God. He did all of that and then told him the dream and the interpretation. And because of all of that, then King Nebuchadnezzar gave him favor. The problem is a lot of you are waiting for this favor, but you're not bold enough to do what you need to do to get it. So everybody talking about they favored. Everybody talking about the Lord favors me and favor ain't fair and all of these other things. But if you look at the story of Daniel, favor didn't just drop in his lap. He did something to get it. He sought God. God gave him divine wisdom and strategy on how to get it. And then he was bold enough because he trusted what God told him to go ask for the king. If you know anything about those days, people didn't go ask to speak to the king. He went and asked to speak to the king because he said, I got something you need. A lot of you in this season, and I say this season, don't wait until 2022. There's things you're supposed to do now. There's some doors that you're supposed to knock on now. There's some relationships that you're supposed to establish now. And you are waiting for somebody to call you when you're supposed to be calling people. Some of you are waiting for somebody to slide in your inbox. You waiting for somebody to give you an opportunity. You waiting for this and you waiting for that when the Lord has already told you how it's supposed to happen. He's already told you what you need to know. The problem is that you don't have enough boldness or enough confidence to then say, this is what God told me and this is who I need to speak to. So I just want to encourage you on today because I'm telling you, when I read it and the way the Lord pulled that out for me, because I know anytime the Lord deals with me, I know it's for me first. A lot of us, we know. And God has already told us. He's giving us the dream and he's given us the revelation, the interpretation. He gave that to us already. The problem is, are we bold enough to go to the king? So ask yourself, who's the king in your life that you need to go to and say, I got what you need? Is the king basically, oh my God, I'm supposed to start my own business? And so I need to go to the bank and say, you need to fund this because? Who are you supposed to be going to? Who are you supposed to be connecting with that you haven't taken the step? Because again, we always say we waiting on God to do something. God already gave the instruction. Some of you have been sitting on stuff for years and you're still waiting and you blaming it on God. And God is saying, I gave you the dream and I gave you the interpretation. And the only thing you need to do is go to the person, go to the sphere, go to the place where when you speak what I tell you to speak, they're going to grant you favor. That thing blessed me on today, so I couldn't keep it to myself. It was a bubbling in my spirit. So I want to encourage you today to open your mouth. That's all I got to say today. Open your mouth. He already gave you the dream. He already gave you the interpretation. He did it for Daniel. Daniel asked, And he gave it to him just like this. How many times have you asked God, what am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? Whatever. And God answered you. And you still didn't speak. So I just want to encourage you on today, because I'm telling y'all, it'll encourage me, because there's a lot of things that I'm waiting and I'm seeking God for. And I'm like, God, you told me this and I trust you. And you said this and I have faith. And God is saying to me, just like he's saying to you, I gave you the dream. I gave you the interpretation of the dream. But I can't move out on what I told you to do. If you know anything about the earth realm, if you know anything about how the Lord moves in the earth realm, this is the law. He moves through us. So he needs a willing vessel to move through. So God is not going to go. God didn't say, the Bible didn't say that God went to King Nebuchadnezzar. It said God gave Daniel the dream and the interpretation, and then Daniel went to King Nebuchadnezzar. He was a willing vessel. He got the instruction and he moved out. Some of you are too lazy to move. You are too lazy to move. You're lazy, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, because I have lazy moments. It's, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the people. So instead of not having to deal, we don't move. The problem is the Lord can't do what he needs to do in the earth realm if we, the people he works through, don't move. So I just want to encourage you on today, because I encouraged myself in the Lord on today. The Lord already, just like Daniel, gave you the dream. He gave you the interpretation. He gave you the dream. Then he showed you, let's break down interpretation. He showed you the different parts of the dream, the strategy, and how it's supposed to move, and what's supposed to happen, and what each element means. He gave you all of that. But now you, as the person he's imparted all of that to, gotta go to the king. You gotta move. You gotta go to the king. And I'm using the word king as a, because again, we know God is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, but you know what I mean. You gotta go to what is now going to unlock your favor. Because you sitting down doing nothing with the dream and the interpretation he gave you ain't giving you no favor. You just sitting on it. A lot of you can have to, in order to tap in to the favor that God has for you, you gotta go to the king boldly. First of all, again, you ain't got to be asking, is he wants to see me today? Is I need to see the king. I need to do what I need to do for my business. I need to write that book. He didn't ask for permission. He said, I need to. Because I got something you need. Your business is something somebody needs. Your ministry is something that somebody needs. And when you step out on that, that is when God will unlock favor. Because God is not just going to bestow favor on people who don't do nothing. What is the point of favoring somebody who doesn't move out on what God has told them to do? What is the point? Just for you to write Facebook posts and say the God favored me? That's not how it operates. God bestows favor for us to then be a testimony, for us to then point people back to him. Just like Daniel did. Daniel pointed King Nebuchadnezzar back to God. In that moment, he didn't take credit. He didn't say, yeah, I tarried for 500 years. You know how some of us, we need validation from the people before we say something. No, it was me. I had the prophecy first. I had the word first. I confirmed it. No. Daniel said, listen, what I'm about to tell you, it ain't even mine. I got this from God. So let me tell you what he said to me. And he said it. He didn't ask for credit. He didn't ask for validation. He didn't ask for confirmation. He said, this is what God said. And Nebuchadnezzar said, who you all know, our God was not his God, said, not only did you get my dream right, but you gave me the interpretation, and I didn't say nothing to you. So your God truly is God. What rooms you need to walk into so you can show people that your God is really God? What places you need to go to show people that your God is really God? Because we got to stop faking the funk and all these Facebook posts and posting scriptures and all this other stuff. And you broke, busted, and disgusted. You don't look like it's no favor on your life. You look like you always struggling. You down in the dumps. When are we going to point sinners to the point where they said, oh my God, your God must be God? And he didn't have to do no song, no dance. He had to preach. He had to prove himself. He didn't have to tell his life story. He just said what God said. That's all he did. And again, he pointed Nebuchadnezzar back to God. He didn't want any credit. So that's my encouraging quick lunch break nugget for you on today. The dream and the interpretation that the Lord is giving you now, you need to move out and do something with it. You need to get to the king. And I'm using that as an analogy. What is that king? What are you supposed to be going out on? Because until you get to the king and do what you need to do, until you do that, you will not unlock the true favor that God wants to give you on your life. So that's my quick nugget for today. I love you all so much. I pray this word blessed you because it blessed me. It blessed my whole entire soul because I'm taking it for me and I'm running with it. So I love you all. Share if you believe this will encourage somebody, because like I said, I know it encouraged me. So now I need to do what I have to do. I have to move. I have to get to that king so I can, one, point him back to God. So then I can, two, make sure that I say exactly what God told me to say. And so number three, that king can validate that my God, not that I need validation, but again, that's a part of us testifying. That's a part of us sharing the good news. God, y'all see my glasses came off? And sharing the gospel, that I am now sharing my light. And because I am sharing my light and giving glory back to God, it unlocks favor. So that's it for y'all today. I love you all so much. I'm excited. It is December 1st. We got 31 days to go. I'm not even thinking about 2022 because I'm already in my 2022. Seriously. I want every single minute of the rest of 2021 to count. I'm not already fast forwarding to 2022, being in January 1st. I'm going to start this. No, I'm all in position right now. I'm getting everything I can get right now. I ain't missing no days off. So I love you all. Have an awesome, awesome, awesome day. Take care. Bye.